hiring for different roles. And I think most people understand once they've been in business for a while, like I'm kind of looking for this, but having a very clear inventory of like, okay, this is what the job is. These are the psychological profiles we want for that job. These are the skills from a mental ability perspective that they need to be able to do. And when you line those, like you reduce the risk of hiring and bad hiring significantly. The more challenging a role is, the more that stuff matters.
Overwhelmingly, people are getting hired or hiring people because they just simply feel like they're entitled and they don't want to do the work anymore. And generally speaking, that's a bad fiscal decision. You're not keeping your finances top of mind. You're not being responsible. What is the actual measurable outcome that I'm getting by doing and hiring and whatever the thing is? Welcome to Beyond the Pump, where today we're going to break down one of the riskiest yet potentially, I can't say that word today, one of the riskiest, there we go, yet potentially most valuable things you can do in your business, which is hiring and leading teammates, team members, and helping them to grow themselves while growing your business along the way. A couple of war stories coming at you, but overall, this is going to be a good episode, especially if you're starting to hit that point where you think, I need some help. Make sure you take a listen.
You might be shocked because sometimes you might need help sooner and sometimes you've waited a little bit too long. And then there are times where you just don't need the help and you're going to bury yourself by navigating that hiring process poorly. So make sure you pay attention. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and please leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you guys are looking for, and if we're helpful, if we're on the right track, or if we're just wildly off course and you want to see something different, we'd love to hear that. So let's jump on in.
The amount of hiring mistakes I made early on in owning my business, like, oh, so bad. Yeah. Like it's just, and then the amount of just leadership stuff that I did that was just so bad. Like I remember one time saying, I don't need to thank them. Their paycheck is thanks enough.
Oh.
And literally, like, naive younger me truly believed that. Like, why would I say thank you? Like, you're getting paid. Like, I'm gonna say thank you for doing your job. Like, oh, never thought of that. Thanking you to do the entire reason you're here to do. Like, woo! Like, and deep down inside, I will say there still is a part of me that the over celebrating of you doing your job is like, all right, chill, like calm down. Going above and beyond, that's where like, hey, let's celebrate and all the things. Doing your job, that said, like requires some, hey, good job at doing your job. Like I appreciate it. I appreciate you showing up every day. Like all those things are worth it. But it also is one of those things of like, you know, don't take it for granted. And younger me definitely did, but it's just like right time, right place. There's one of our clients. There's one team member that just celebrates the crap out of everybody. I mean, there's so much celebration. Like, it is excessive, but like that's part of her role with the team. And I can appreciate it. It's never me, but there was another gentleman on the team 6 months ago ish. And one of his pieces for feedback for her that I found out in his first week here was he told her, you need to do a better job of celebrating your team and the things that they're doing. And she immediately lost all the respect in the world for him because he just had no idea what was going on. And I only learned this recently, actually. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. Like, that is wild that anybody would tell her, hey, you should celebrate people more. Meanwhile, I sit here and I'm in Slack threads and messages and emails, and I'm like, man, she really is celebrating them for just getting their job done. Like, it's wild, like, cool, but like, you know, so, and it just, there's a balance, I guess, is the thing that I would say. You need to do it. You got to learn. But like, I messed up so many times early on. It took me so long to kind of get it right. And it's still a thing that I hate doing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you point that out because when you think about the nature of hiring, there's almost like this homogenization of where everyone starts to become the same person, the people that make it, right? Like you're a pretty similar type of individual. You're cut from the same cloth. Yeah. And that's because most people have no idea how to diversify. And frankly, I still don't. Like, I think about all the stuff that I'm learning on how to assess people when they're coming in. And there's something about being conscientious. Like, they have the big five, and there's a lot of subdomains in those. And so when people are like, oh, you're a big five, whatever, whatever, like, by the way, that's the only validated, like, that's probably the most accurate way to go about workplace assessment from a personality perspective. But they don't tell you certain things. And so when you look at sales, like, they're one of the big things that is a huge determining personality trait that, and when we hire for personality, what we're looking for is things that might prevent burnout and might keep people engaged. And, if you take someone that's a bookish person, that's like a research and development person, and you put them in front of people, like, that's going to be a stressful thing. They might be able to do it, but it's going to be a stretch and it's going to be a grind. You take someone that loves talking to people, they're going to have less of an issue with going out and doing SDR stuff, or going out and doing cold calling, or going out and doing sales appointments. And so, hiring for different roles. And I think most people understand once they've been in business for a while, like, I'm kind of looking for this, but having a very clear inventory of, like, okay, this is what the job is. These are the psychological profiles we want for that job. These are the skills from a mental ability perspective that they need to be able to do. And when you line those, like, you reduce the risk of hiring and bad hiring significantly. But it was interesting, and I'll leave it like my last little research tirade on this and that. Gentle mental, I don't know if I want to say this actually. Feels like I'll get canceled.
Wow, you're actually thinking about this. That's rare.
Thought about it. Well, because I was going to go in a
Don't say
different
it.
direction, and then I was like, maybe I'll go in this direction. You know what I want to say. You know what I want to say. I'm not going to say it. I really want to say it now. Fuck, by telling myself I'm not going to say it, I really want to say it. It's fine. But that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that your general mental ability, or, like, it kind of everything, your emotional intelligence, like your ability to do arithmetic, vocabulary, whatever, they found that that's a pretty strong predictor of performance in general. And so I guess that's why they do the SATs and all these other things, because they're trying to make sure that the people that get butts in seats at medical school, at these more challenging programs, have the opportunity to succeed. Because if you take someone that fails, they make a 400 on the SAT, and you put them in an engineering program, like, it's really not ethical for you to do that, because they might not have the skills mentally to succeed. It doesn't mean that's always the case. But the interesting thing that I was reading about a couple days ago, was the idea that the more challenging a role is, the more that stuff matters. If you're a frontliner and you're a cashier, it doesn't matter at all. And so this is where I say, like, the nuances as we're looking to fill certain positions starts to be more meaningful. And the average cost of a mishired executive is anywhere from $750,000 to $1.5 million is the cost of hiring the wrong person. And in senior management, it's 1.5 to 2 times their annual salary is the cost, because there's the ramp, there's the training cost, there's a lost, ability to, bring someone else on. And, like, so point being is, there are real dollars that are tied to these things, and slowing down a little bit to take some time to think through what it is that you're looking for, I think really makes a lot of sense. And it goes the same for your clients as a coach, to tie this down to health coaching specifically, because if you don't know what skills and attributes your clients need to come to the table with, you're going to try to teach a pet rock how to fish, and that thing going to sink, buddy. As they say in the South. I've never heard anyone say that, but
As they say in the South. Yeah, I mean, the first step that I would say that is required when you're going to hire somebody is truly understanding what you actually need to hire. And not just the position, because you got somebody like a Jason Phillips over at NCI, or, whatever peptide world thing now. No, spread that one across the thing here. But, like, he'll be like, oh, you need to go hire an admin. You need to go hire a coach. You need to go hire a thing. And the title, like, that's a piece of it, but the title is probably the least important thing. You need to understand what outcome they specifically need to create. At the end of the day, it's your business. You can call whatever outcomes seat in the business you want. That's the cool thing. But there's this list of assumptions that just gets made when we say hire this specific person, this thing. And that's what usually gets us in trouble. So what are the outcomes that you need to create? Is it you need more time back for yourself to do things? Then yeah, you need your basic admin with very clear, detailed what they should be doing and accomplishing. Do you need to, you have too many sales calls that you can't handle it? Yeah, maybe you need a salesperson that's going to handle that thing.
You should hire that. You should hire another salesperson.
You should hire 10 salespeople when you need 3.
I think you need 11.
Um,
Really.
it'll be 11 soon. But so it's like you need to know very, very specifically what you're hiring for. The next thing, and then I'll kick it over to you, that I would say here is once you know what you need to hire for, I think you should build out what their training and onboarding is before you even start the hiring process. Because once they're hired, all you do is see finish lines and like, let me get them there so I can stop doing the work. And like, that's where I see a lot of people also go wrong, is they just very poorly equip that new person to actually execute their job. I don't know. I don't know if that would be your second thing, but I was just like, I got to say this out there. But like
Yep.
that process, I think, is extremely important and probably more important than most people really like put effort into.
No, and I would agree because it creates the bones of like if you can't train someone to do the job that you're hiring them to do in 90 days, like think about how much time and efficiency you're wasting to have someone stumble through a fucking spreadsheet to go dig for information to find out that they are missing a piece of really important stuff that's going to allow them to either do their job or fail drastically and for you to think they're incompetent. And frankly, like when we think about people that are considered incompetent at their jobs, it's usually a mishire or because we didn't have the right developmental processes in place. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Do it.
Right. Or their name is, but like, and I think that it's, if that's as far as, if that's all you take from this episode, I think that's a great, I never thought about drafting their training program before they get hired because usually like, I just assume that's already happening. Like I assume that you have very clear things that you want them to become responsible for. And if you don't, then why are you going to put them on payroll so they can figure it out? Unless they convince you and they pitch you and like they have a compelling reason, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And they're like, hey, here are the gaps that I see, which is usually where consultants come in, which are people that identify or have a certain level of expertise. They come in, they help you solve a very specific problem, and then they're out of your hair. And then you have that thing forever. And usually you're going to pay more for a consultant than you will pay for someone in-house to do something or to put these things together. That's the nature of paying for an expert to come in that isn't going to be a long-term agreement. So, I would say that the only thing that I would break up and maybe a little more granular on those two things of knowing why you're hiring them, like what are the needs of your business, being very clear. And one of the things that I love doing, it's kind of like, it goes back to my spreadsheet fascination. I don't think, and I joke about having autism a lot. I'm not actually autistic. And it's not to make light of the neurodivergent people that actually really are autistic and are like nonverbal. That's not what we're trying to do here. I just think that we should be able to say things like gay and retarded because it's freedom of speech. Please don't bleep those out. I want that to be clipped. I want that to go everywhere. This is my coming out. Intense look. No, I'm kidding. But you should, I'm gonna regret that. But you should be very clear around what everything that's happening in your organization. And I think it goes back to lead gen and workflows and sales and fulfillment. You should have a process for everything. And if you don't have a process, because I've been thinking about like maybe it's time for my own HR side of the house to hire like an assistant or something. And I was kind of thinking about it, and I realized that I don't have enough processes in place that are automated and workflowy that if I hired someone, it would just be contributing to the lack of efficiency. So you should establish those processes, clearly define those, and then look for the pieces that you need actual help with. Otherwise, you're going to throw money at a problem and you're not going to have a way to gauge if that's helpful or not outside of, is this contributing to my bottom line? And if they're not a revenue generator, they're not a salesperson, or they're not a marketing person, like you have no key performance indicators, which is the measure of success for a role in a given industry or whatever, then, you might just be throwing 5, 10, 20, $50,000 a month away. And that's why high ticket business coaching, right? That's hiring a consultant. What is that consultant doing? Well, they're installing business systems. No, they're giving you a template that may or may not work given your specific context. And that's why so many people fail when they hire these 25,000 high ticket, business coaches. But I think at the end of the day, you got to get clear on defining specifics And then you break those specifics down into skills or knowledge. What do you need to know? You're not going to hire someone off the street if they've never looked at a spreadsheet to be your accountant. It'd be fucking nuts, right? So you got to vet people. Do you know how to do the basic things, right? And then can you do these things? We talk about declarative knowledge, which is what you know, facts, figures, being able to logic your way through stuff, and procedural knowledge. Procedural knowledge being like a mechanic. Do you know how to fix an engine, right? So, anyways, but please don't hire a homeless person to be your accountant unless they have a CPA license. Like,
Yeah, it is knowing what you need, building out the plan, executing the plan the way you want it to go. And then above and beyond that, like clear measurables for that person that they're supposed to create serves two purposes. A, we're all busy. Waking up every day and telling somebody that they're doing great and actually meaning it with like substance to it, it's just not realistic. So we need to make sure they, from a kind of barometer perspective, they generally loosely know on a daily basis, are they achieving the goal that they should be or not? And that's a job confidence security thing for them. That doesn't excuse you from never giving them feedback. And every month, every quarter, you definitely need to sit down. But also objectively, you then need to tell them, hey, you're good. You're achieving the thing, blah, blah, blah. And also, if they are achieving the thing, it should be able to produce an outcome that's measurable for your business. And most people don't know what that is. They just hired people, and now all of a sudden you have overhead for the giggles and shits of having overhead rather than to actually produce outcomes that was meant to be there. Now, 95% of the time you're hiring somebody because you just don't want to do the work anymore. And you think you've earned the right to not work hard. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just being very direct about it. 5% of the time, hiring somebody actually allows you to then grow your business a little bit more. Or you've truly grown this business that is above your what you need to make from an income perspective. You are inherently putting in too much time to make that work or too much effort. And you would like to go from working 80, 90 hours a week down to 50 to 60. So there are those times that like, yeah, you need somebody back just to buy you some time so you can not work harder and not grow your business. Or, hey, if I buy this person, my business will grow. But overwhelmingly, people are getting hired or hiring people because they just simply feel like they're entitled and they don't want to do the work anymore. And generally speaking, that's a bad fiscal decision. You're not keeping your finances top of mind. You're not being responsible. Does it always kill you? No, absolutely not. But does it add an extra layer of stress? It absolutely does. And that's like the big thing to really think through here. What is the actual measurable outcome that I'm getting by doing and hiring and whatever the thing is?
yeah. Well, and as you're talking through, like it might not kill everyone. The thing that jumps into my head is like the analogy of a 4-wheel drive vehicle. If you're driving a truck and it's only 2-wheel drive and you get stuck in a mud pit, that might be something that really slows you down. You might be able to dig it out. It's going to take you a lot more effort, right? Or God forbid it's really bad and now your truck is stuck and you can't go anywhere. So that analogy is similar to having a shitty employee or having some kind of weird environmental constraint or having a mishire or having to spend extra time with someone, right? Like that's the mud. You're the truck. You got to keep moving forward and you're not capable to do that. Now, if you have 4x4, this is where you find that people will gut it out and they will do whatever they got to do because they have a lot of experience with people, with the job, with some element of that. And they can just turn it into low and drive right through. And so that's where as you're going through this, you need to be prepared for the issues that come along with hiring people, which is going to cost you money and it's going to cost you attention. Are those things better served continuing in the route that you're going? And I think that one of the biggest pitfalls I saw from these high ticket business coaches was that they would insist that someone needs to hire their admin role. And they forgot that the admin's going to cost them $3K a month or whatever it is, $2K a month. They're only making $5,000 a month top line. That's not even taxes and shit. And so now they got to take over half that money and pay as someone that is a low skill labor employee to do something that really doesn't take that much effort when you have a lot of automations and organized processes. Like it doesn't make sense. And so oftentimes you probably especially as a solopreneur who we're usually speaking to in this podcast, you don't need to hire as soon as you think. You need to get more refined in your processes, frankly.
Yeah, it's easy to want to have an employee. It's easy to want to not do certain work. It's easy to want all of those
Mhm.
things. You just got to know what you're trading for that, and it's got to make
Mm.
sense. The other side of this conversation too is everybody goes down. I had a big month. I had a 15, a 20, a $30,000 month in my coaching business. I brought on these clients and all the components, and I'm so busy. And then again, you got somebody, your mentor, advisor, oh, you need to go hire the person, blah, 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 and all the things. There's so many assumptions being made in that context of you should go hire somebody. Because the reality is you can make an extra $100 a month by selling 100 people a dollar thing. You can make $100 extra a month by selling one person $100 thing. And that applies to any number you want, obviously. Just because you go and you make this much money this one month, you don't know that you need to hire somebody. In fact, we're not sure because you might have just sold 3 people 6-month packages of coaching that really doesn't require that much load, but because your mentorship has no idea around how to coach you around the finances of business, because they too don't know the finances of business. They just sit there and go, oh, well, you made a lot of money this one month. Well, you didn't make the money. First of all, you didn't earn it yet. Still unearned revenue. Still a liability. Still debt on your books that you owe somebody services. It's not who gives a shit about the dollars. What is the load that you took on by bringing these clients in? And what are the finances on the back end? How much money do you need to personally make a month to survive, to pay your bills, to put in your savings? Like all those things are questions that nobody asks. And that's where so many people end up getting steered in the wrong direction way too soon, way too early.
Ooh, here's a potential thought-provoking question. How many months of savings in a war chest do you need to have before you hire someone? My general rule of thumb is if you can afford to pay that person 3 months at your current expense burn, then that seemed like probably a decent hire, but more of like a safety measure. What's your opinion on that?
Minimum 3 months. You got to be at minimum 3 months. If you have seasonality in your business, if you have things that that you know are going to impact you, you also need to be thinking about those. Like, what do those months look like and how do you navigate through those components? I would say 3 months, access to up to 6-ish months worth of stuff is probably like the thing. When I say access, like when I say 3 months, it should probably be in your business savings account, let's say. When I say 6 months, don't keep 6 months of money in your business savings account because then you're losing money because it's not doing any work for you. But you need to be able to get it within 3 to 5 days in case you need it. The other side of it is this whole war chest thing with people is, oh shit, business isn't going as directionally wanted to right now. It's unexpected. It's this, it's that. Performance capacity numbers are telling me I'm off. You need to be able to have the hard discussions and fire somebody. Like, you are taking on a responsibility to keep them gainfully employed and have them do something. Yes, 1000%. Should you own keeping them on your business for a period of time through some subtle change? 100%. But you got to know when it's time to just cut bait and move on, because it's also the thing that is going to drown you.
Mhm.
They are as responsible for their own success as you are when it comes to that business. At some point, they're leaving you anyways, or you're firing them. This is not a lifelong endeavor. Like, stop holding on to somebody because you feel so like vested. Oh my gosh, they're my, like, no, stop. The moment you fire them, they're going to go find the next person. It is what it is. So you need 3 months, up to 6 months. But if shit gets bad, don't burn through 3 months and finally make the decision.
No, you yeah, you're making decisions day one of that 3-month tap. And like to be clear, obviously, like when we say 3 months, and we take and generally speaking, I mean, best practice is a year, where you can continue to pay all of your bills, including yourself, including all of your employees. Like that's what we mean by cash burn, like in cash stockpile or whatever, war chest or whatever term you want to use. You need to be able to pay all your bills, your utilities, your payroll, your expenses, your loans, your debt load. You got to service your debt, all that stuff in 1 month. You want to have 3 months of that. And then if you hire someone, now you need a bigger war chest to accommodate the extra. If you're paying them $5,000 a month, you need an extra 15,000 saved up, would be general best practice. And that's if you're, usually cash flowing pretty well. If you're
Yeah.
not, then frankly, I don't think it's worth hiring someone unless you just have the capital, you have investors. sometimes that changes the dynamic. I can't speak to that because I've never had an investor type of situation. I have a couple grants, but I don't know. I mean, Steve, how does that change anything in your opinion?
I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going to have to make asks to get more money, and you still need to run the business as though you want to. I can all but guarantee you, if you're asking an investor for more money for your business that's currently not paying them back and they're already invested in, you damn well better have a paper trail of how those dollars and cents are going towards things that are going to eventually give them their money back.
Yep.
And
Yep.
hey, I need to keep this person employed because they post my social media shit. They're not going to care about that. All right, gang. Hopefully you enjoyed that kind of tangent soapbox era chat about hiring, but like it's an important function. Make sure you're ready, make sure you're prepared. B, make sure you do your job as a leader once you hire somebody, and it can really pay off very well. 90% of the time you messed up when that doesn't work out well, and just make sure you own it. So outside of that, though, appreciate you guys listening to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. Go ahead and like the episode, subscribe to the channel, throw some comments in there on things that you want us to chat about. And until next time, gang, see you soon.